Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Marketing Dude podcast. We are joined here today from one of the better marketers in the real estate industry that I've had the pleasure of knowing over the last few years. And the topic today is going to cover internet lead generation, specifically like purchase internet lead generation sources, the realtors, the Zillows, the Trulias, what's going on. And I wanted to have this gentleman on the show because, honestly, I don't buy a lot of internet leads, and I'm the last person to ask for them. But I figured I would bring you the best person that I know of that not only spends and invests a lot of monthly income towards these lead sources, but has everything figured out to a science. Like, he knows the cost per lead and the cost per closing to the cost per conversation. I mean, this guy is a metrics freak on his business, but he has to be because he's investing, change every month. This isn't change. These are big numbers. So you're going to learn quite a bit on today's call. So grab your pens, take some notes, and without further ado, I want to introduce one of Club Welt's premier coaches, Mr. Brian Curtis, to the show. Brian, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Mike. I appreciate you having me on.
We appreciate you being on. This is going to be a very, very, very fun show, and it's been a question that we've been getting quite a bit. But before we get into the content of it, do you want to give anybody somewhat of your background, who you are, where you're from, and then we'll get right into it. I'm going to lay these questions up.
Absolutely. So, real quick version of me, I started doing this type of real estate in 2005. And I always tell people that if I could go back and talk to that guy, I could make myself a multimillionaire here. I wouldn't be on your show, no offense. I'd be sitting on a beach drinking a margarita.
Come on, man.
So, the very first thing I'm gonna plug myself a little bit here is, get somebody who, listen to stuff like Mike. Go out there and find people who are doing the thing that you want to do instead of trying to invent the wheel yourself. That's my one piece of advice that's universal. And again, I wish I could go back to 2005 and tell myself that. Look, you moron, don't try and do everything yourself. You're not that smart, and learn how to rip off and duplicate what everybody else is doing.
Hey. So, if you're not experiencing the pain, you're not growing, though, Brian. What did you learn out of that experience?
I feel like I've experienced enough pain in life. I'm good. I don't need any more learning opportunities. Who knows? Maybe.
Yeah, you're like, I'm over it, dude. Let's press the easy button. Come on. I'm with you on that, sir.
But here's the easy button. Copy somebody else, because what we do is not rocket science. It's really relatively simple. It's just figuring out how to do it, finding out where your niche is, and moving forward. You don't have to, get a degree in real estate. Just find out the stuff that works for you and do that. Because there's plenty of different ways to do that. And
absolutely.
So, yep. But I've got a team in Bentonville, Arkansas. That's me. I'm the home of Walmart, so that's when people wonder why on earth I'm there. That's our go-to there, and we got a team of about 20 people and having a good time slinging some real estate.
A lot of relocations into that market, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, you've got the way Walmart works. You've got people who are always moving in and out. The vendors are probably your biggest, people who are moving in and out.
Interesting, very interesting. Well, let's get right on to it. Now, I want to put it into context because I see agents complain, or not complain, like I see an agent be like, all right, they roll up their sleeves like, dude, should I invest this $250 a month? All right. And you are just spending a lot more than that. So I first want our listeners to get a gauge, because you're going to give us some stats, I think, on what leads you're getting and what your cost per lead is. But I want them to understand the amount of volume you're playing with in terms of the monthly investment, because you guys have to understand that what Brian is, not too many people are doing what Brian's doing at this scale. All right. And when you do something at this scale, you get very good data, and you need that data to figure out what it is. So Brian, if you don't mind me asking, and if you do want to share that with our guests or with our listeners, what is a ballpark because of what you are, what does an agent need to be spending per month? What are you spending per month? But just on your specific team. We'll talk about your expansion services, I think, maybe in a little bit, and how you're running different marketing campaigns in different markets. But let's just use one market at a time so we get some basic numbers on that.
Yeah, so in our Arkansas market, our monthly spend right around $25,000 on marketing, which there's definitely people spending more, but I feel like that's a good number for us. And the truth of the matter is, it goes up like every 3 or 4 months as I make the team bigger, find more things. So if you have this conversation with me next year, it might be 40, might be 50. I don't care what that number is. What I ultimately care about is what that number nets me at the back end, because I can meet anybody. If I write you a check for $1,000 and you hand me back $5,000, I'll just keep writing those checks. And so that's all what we're trying to do.
All right, so folks, return on investment. He's saying that he's spending $25,000, 25, okay, $25,000 a month. There's realtors that don't even spend that a year on their marketing budget. So, but also what he said is that, we have to stop being realtors and start putting our business owner hats on, because if you have a return on investment that is positive, you increase that spend. Is that fair to say?
That's what I do.
That's basically what every business person does. So, folks, look at this return on investment. All right, so on this $25,000 a month that you're spending on your team, what are your, what platforms are we talking about here?
Okay. So I use, people laugh at me. I use a gazillion different platforms.
Sure.
So the ones that I'm actually spending money on, and not the, we got some referral platforms. I don't go into those today. But I do Zillow. I do Trulia. I do Realtor.com. I'm actually looking into Homes.com. I'm not doing anything with them right now. I do Curator. I just got rid of Commissions Inc., and we can talk about why I did that. And I'm not trying to talk bad about those guys. They actually have a decent platform. And then my biggest spend that's not a Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com is actually a company called Ylopo.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard a lot about them. All right, let's start with the, I think we could bucket like the Zillow, the Trulia, the Realtor, and the Homes.com more or less into one category.
I can't. Yeah.
So, like their internet purchase leads. We know how this works, folks. People go online, they want to see a property, and you get a lead. Now, out of those four sources, you're not in the Homes.com yet, and I don't know. I haven't met too many people that are doing a lot of Homes.com stuff, but I think they're geographically it's different per market, if I'm not mistaken.
It is, and that's why I want to look into it, because I think there may be an opportunity, and I don't want to miss it. So that's on my radar.
There you go. Now, out of Zillow, Trulia, which are really combined right now, more or less, which of these three is number 1, 2, and 3 in that respective order?
So Zillow and Trulia, the way you purchase from them now, it's one thing. So I can't necessarily differentiate between the Zillow and Trulia. It's all the same. My bill comes out all at once, and they don't differentiate that. So I'm spending a little bit more money there. We're at about $9,000 a month on Zillow, Trulia. We're at about $5,000 a month on Realtor.com. And the reason that I'm not more on Realtor.com is because I can't buy it right now. So I've got a rep that the second it comes up, we had a conversation a couple hours ago, and I gave him a list of what I wanted. As soon as that comes up, you don't need to call me. You just need to book it. I want to buy it. Because, again, the ROI is there. Right now, it's actually more profitable. I wanted to bring something up because you made an interesting comment about $250, and I'm not sure that $250 is a relevant number, but here's where I really think it is relevant. A lot of people don't think about it. So Zillow, Trulia, you buy impressions, and what I mean by that is you're not getting. If I send you $100, that doesn't necessarily get me one lead. $100 gives me X number of impressions. But that's a lot different than, say, Realtor.com. So if you're buying from Realtor.com, then you're buying leads. And so depending on who you are. So for me, I love to buy impressions because my profile, if you look at Zillow, says, hey, look, this guy's got 250 sales in the last 12 months. He's got 180 reviews, and so I have presence there. If you've got no sales in the last 12 months and you've got no reviews, you're going to have a tough time competing against me. Absolutely. Because our names pop up next to each other.
Folks, if you're not getting your reviews online, that's the number one thing people look at. You know this way more than I do, but I even know this, and I don't buy internet leads. It's, people, my partner he did go into Zillow, and he was getting a zip code, before I left Chicago, but the business that he did get from Zillow were people, they're like, oh yeah, I looked you up, I saw your profile, and they looked right at the reviews. And this is no different than when we go on vacation, is it? Like when we book a hotel, what's the number one thing we do? Is right. I don't care what the pool looks like. I don't care what restaurants are there. The very first thing I do is go right to the freaking reviews, because what someone else says about your business is a lot more powerful than what you can ever say about your business.
Absolutely. So again, if you have $250 a month to spend, don't spend it on Zillow. Just you're not going to get a return. You're competing against me and Mike, or people like us who've got a bunch of stuff. Whereas if I can go to Realtor.com, if you can buy something for $250 in your market, you're buying X number of leads. At least you know that I'm going to get X number of leads from it. Again, $250 a month on Zillow, you might literally get nothing.
I didn't know this. This is very interesting. I want to point out just so our listeners on the same page. So the difference between impressions and actually leads is this, and tell me if I'm wrong, Brian. But the impressions are like, when someone clicks on a house and they see the 4 agents in the upper right-hand corner, how many times you pop up in those searches, as opposed to how many people actually you're sent a lead. from someone who inquired if they received more information. Is that a fair statement?
That's a great thing, great way to compare it. And here's the biggest thing. Here's something for everybody in your audience who's not spending any money on Realtor.com and has a listing. Go to your own listing and make an inquiry on it and see who calls you. It won't be you.
Oh, so, this week, it's funny you say that, because this week, I don't know if it was inside of our group or not, but I've heard, maybe it was in Labcoat's agents, but I've heard 2 agents, they were listing agents, and there were people who bought, the agents who got the mean calls were buying leads on Realtor.com, and the listing agent called them like, how the hell are you getting this information? You don't know anything about this property. Like, screw you, blah, blah. And they got into a fight because they were the one buying leads on Realtor.com, and the listing agent didn't really know how that worked, apparently. So it was pretty funny. So this is very cool. So how many impressions do you need to make on a monthly basis from what you're seeing on Zillow or Trulia to, move the needle?
I don't know what that number is. It's going to vary from market to market. But what I do know is, again, become familiar with the platform you're using. So if you're using Zillow and Trulia, you can go into your back end and you can actually look at your advertising costs, and you can look at what a lead costs. So another thing interesting to understand about Zillow is if I'm buying leads for $100 a day, right, $100 in a zip code right now for Zillow, and then somebody else in my market is willing to spend a whole bunch of money, and I know this firsthand because it happened. So we had a guy who just said, look, I want to spend $50,000 a month. I don't know if that's the number he came up with, but it's pretty close to that on Zillow. And what he did, there was no impressions left to buy. So basically they just made the impressions more expensive. So I'm spending $8,000 and getting 100 impressions. Now I'm spending $8,000 and getting 50 impressions.
Interesting. So you actually have to stay in the know, not only with not only the impressions, but the competition you have.
Yep, because it's going to affect your ROI constantly. If you get less impressions, then you're going to get less leads. Again, there's ways to combat that, and you talked about it. Because I don't care if you got 1 million impressions, if you've got no reviews and no sales, then you're much less competitive than me, who's I spend time on that. Every single time we close a transaction, you get an email from me. It says, hey, please review us on Zillow, and you're going to get a phone call. And there's almost nothing more important than, like you say, third-party credibility, which is what you're talking about.
Do you have your video on Zillow on your profile set up?
I don't, actually. I don't have a video.
And it's just on the views. See, that was the second thing that my partner would get, is the video was what connected with a lot of these people. And then once they saw him, and they're like, oh, yeah, he's not like going to just, sell me something. He's a nice guy. He's got a family and all that. And as this is about video, that little subtle connection allowed people to pick up the phone and actually call him. Interesting. So yeah, social proof. Make sure your profiles are filled out right. Let's switch to Realtor.com now. Now you're actually buying leads. People who are asking for information on a home as opposed to impression. So yeah, I did not know that. It's very interesting. And I've heard 2 different types of leads. You could go the seller route or you could go the buyer route with Realtor.com. And which one are you doing, and which are you?
So I'm not very familiar with the seller route because there wasn't anything available. I'm doing buyers. Now, there are 2 types of buyer leads that you can get from Realtor.com, and I think it's important to understand that. So I can buy a half a space or a full space, and what that means is when someone fills out that form, I can agree that I'm the only realtor, which is going to be twice as expensive, or I can say I'll pay half of that, and I'm going to have some competition. So personally, I'd do the half of it because I know that my team will follow up immediately, and I figure that I'll make more money because if we, theoretically, you're cutting in half immediately. But if I can go from 50% of those leads up to 60% or 70% because someone else didn't follow up immediately, that's free money for me.
Well, isn't that like 90% of the agents that you're competing against? Because it's the stats just came out. I don't know if you saw this, but Jesse with Call Action came out with a really good statistics about the percentage of speed to the lead. I don't know them offhand, but the percentage of agents who are still not following up with like X amount of time was astounding. Like it was just like you folks have to realize when imagine you have to live the journey as a consumer to understand it as a realtor, right? So like if I'm in Trulia, what are you doing? Go in Trulia, be the consumer, be the buyer, and do your own search pattern so that you can replicate or just get an idea off of the journey they're having, and it'll teach you how to follow up. One of the things you'll notice is that you're not just opting into one property usually, right? You're probably opting into a couple of them. And we already know it's like 80% of the opt-ins aren't even being followed up on. However, it is also, there's a correlation, tell me if I'm wrong, the the quickness of how you follow up from 1 minute to 5 minutes. What's the difference?
So, and this is old statistics, so the truth of the matter is we need new data on this, but the Harvard study said that you have a 391% higher conversion rate if you call in the first 5 minutes. So that's an amazing statistic. Here's another thing. You know Jesse Zagorski. So yep. Jesse's team actually did a pretty cool thing where they had an ISA, inside sales associate, make sure no matter what for a week, they were answering every single phone call in 30 seconds. And he said about half the time you could hear that beep, that beep you hear when someone else is calling in.
Yep.
And if not, they figured it was the other realtor. So, that my statistic is fabulous. It's accurate, but the problem that you're going to run into, there are people out there like me and you just screaming, follow up, speed to lead, all these things really matter. And we still suck at it as an industry, don't get me wrong. But as an industry, compared to 5 years ago, we're 150% better than we were 5 years ago.
Interesting.
So, we're still bad at it. And thank God, I tell people all the time, this industry would be really hard if everybody did it right. So, it's really a good opportunity to just stay on top of that.
Are you using any technology? Are you using any type of autoresponder? Are you using a CRM on your follow-up to automate that process? And what's that sort of look like?
So yes, and I'm improving it. So right now we use Riley. I'm sure you know who those guys are. Basically, they're text messaging. Mm-hmm. My philosophy with my team is pretty simple. I'm going to give you somewhere between 1 and 3 leads a day. If you're only getting 1 to 3 leads a day, that's going to convert to somewhere between 50 and 70 leads a month. Dial the damn phone. And I don't know how to say that nicely, but if we're not asking you to be available 24 hours a day, but 1 to 3 times a day when you see that lead come in, call them. So now, if you're out showing property, doing something like that, we have backup system. Riley is basically a text messaging system that sends them out messages. And honestly, the thing I love about Riley is at 2 o'clock in the morning converts leads from us sometimes. So literally, we've had people say, I don't want to talk right now. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, but call me at 10. Great. That's awesome. So
they're like, wow, you work hard.
Couldn't believe the first time I saw that. We do that.
I want you guys to understand something, and these are for our listeners. Text messaging. Okay, are you doing any email autoresponders for these internet purchase leads?
Yes, but I expect a 0 response. Anything I get is a bonus.
Listen to this, folks. Now, let's talk a little bit about text messaging and why that's so important. I want to hear your opinion on this. You deal with a lot more cold traffic than I ever have or will. And I believe that, it's like when you get a text, texting is the same as video. It's a way to communicate, right? It's a channel to communicate in. It's not a converter itself. However, the nature of it is personal. It's personable. Right, so the consumers, when they're getting a text message instead of a follow-up phone call or an automated email that you can tell is templated that comes from a robot, it feels more genuine and authentic, and therefore they respond. And it feels genuine and authentic only because of the channel the communication is taking place in, which is text messaging. Right, so do you respond to every text you get? I do. I at least read them.
So statistics say that 91% of all text messages are read. So I don't know the statistics on emails nowadays, but I've got things like Happy Grasshopper. So I can send out a Happy Grasshopper thing, and I can look, and I send an email to 10,000 people, and I get a 9% open rate. Now, there's statistics, the more you send out, blah, blah, blah. But the long story of that is, even if it was double that, it's still only 20%. I got a 91% people are going to get my information on text message, and you'd be foolish not to do that. And the other thing that we find interesting, and people have A/B tested this, you have to be what I'm not good at, and I just had to force myself. You have to be a 25-year-old. You have to put those goofy-looking emojis in there. You have to use LOL. You have to meet people where they're at and stop trying to be quote. This is my favorite thing. I'm being professional. No, you're not. You're prohibiting yourself from being successful is what you're doing. Yeah,
it's personable sells. I mean, that's what people want. They want to know that you're real. And think about, he mentioned something very cool, very interesting. And it's not like, if you're using an automation service like a Get Riley or a Call Action or one of these other companies, it's they're all great, but the tonality of the text message has to feel authentic. So your text can't say like, hi, my name is Michael Cuevas. I'm a real estate agent with Fulton Grace Realty, and I'm following up with you to see if you had further interest of the property located at 123 Cherry Lane. It's got to be like, What's up, bro? Sorry, I'm out with my kids. Can I call you in a second? You just called me about the property on Cherry Street. It's 30 minutes, okay? Right?
Yep. Yeah, and when I look back at emails and well, there was no text message, but I look back at communication that I did, say in 2005 when I started in real estate. That's how people talked.
Correct.
And it was okay back then.
Yeah.
But us old dinosaurs, we got to realize that it's 2017, not 2007. And if we want to change, we got to go with it, And no one wants us to talk like it's 10 years ago. No one wants to communicate that way.
Dude, you hit it right. You hit it right on the head. I got licensed in 2002, and I remember it definitely being. Now that you said that, and I didn't really think about it, but I do remember it being more professional in those days. All right, very, very cool. I think we beat this to a dead horse. Very interesting. Speed to the lead, personable communication, try texting, and impressions are what you're buying on Trulia and Zillow. And Realtor.com, you're buying leads. So very, very good info. Awesome stuff. Let's switch over to Curator, because Curator is more pay-per-click and Facebook. I don't know the difference between them. I know of the company. I have never used them. But I know they're very good, and I've heard a lot of great things about them. So let's go through Curator and what that is. We don't need to give, I mean, go ahead, give them a commercial. But, let's. What is the, how does it work?
Basically, you've got a website, and you can build pages on that website. That's relatively simple to do, and it's got an IDX feed. That's the front end of it. The reason it has value, the reason I like it, is I can make a landing page for any one of my pages, any one of my listings, anything I want to do in about 7 seconds. And I can determine the type of capture I have. In other words, I can have email only, I can have email phone number, I can have email phone number motivation. I can filter the leads out that way. So anybody who just wants to control their marketing, I guess, it's a great platform to use for that. So that way I can determine how much I want to send out. And then it integrates with Follow-Up Boss, which is what I use for a CRM. So that's relatively simple. It just plugs everything in there. Everything goes into one place, and you just kind of plug and play. Leads are very, very, very inexpensive, but like most Facebook leads, you're probably looking at a 10-to-1 conversion rate versus a portal lead.
Interesting.
So that's something
that's what I wanted, because everyone's talking about Facebook right now. Everyone's saying Facebook, but I was talking to Michael Hellickson, your boy, your right hand there at Club Wealth, and he said the same thing. He's like, yeah, you'll get more leads in Facebook, but I care about what closes at the end of the day. And there's no right or wrong answer. You're doing both. You're buying portal leads and social media leads because you have to. But now with Curator, is it all Facebook? I thought they do some pay-per-click type stuff too, and they're really just driving traffic at this point.
They are, and you can do that because it's really your own marketing. So Curator doesn't run a single ad for me.
Okay.
So whatever I want to do, I can do, and that's really how Curator works. It's for the person who wants to control everything themselves, who wants to be in charge, who wants to build out websites. So, for example, you talked about call action. I build things sometimes that say, I'll run a Facebook ad that says, text here for all the open houses, and I use a call action number. They text to that number. That number auto-responds to a blog I built on my Curator page, all the open houses for this weekend.
Sure.
So, when you look at it, why would I do that? Well, 80% of all people who show up for an open house do not have a realtor. So those are some pretty strong leads. If you're willing to give me your phone number, which most people can figure out that if you text something to my phone number, I've now got your phone number. If you're willing to do that for me, then you're a pretty strong lead as far as I'm concerned. So
yeah, and belly to belly is the best. Face to face, belly to belly is absolutely always the best. It's just a matter if you could make that impression to date them for that second time. So on Curator, let's talk a little bit more about Facebook. You mentioned this 10-to-1, and let's hammer this point out because I've been hearing the same things. I don't personally have enough data to make a point on this, but our listeners would love to hear this. So portal leads being Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com versus Facebook or social media type leads. I think I got a little kid that just woke up here. But you said 10-to-1, so basically, is it safe to say for every 10 every 10 Facebook leads or Curator leads, you equate to one Zillow?
It's about right.
Interesting.
And there's a couple of reasons for that, and I'll cover that real quick. So if I go and fill out a form on Facebook, I can give you bob@bob.com, and that's a nice version of what you get.
Right.
I can give you 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 for my phone number. So bob@bob.com with a 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 for a phone number, that is technically a lead.
Right.
It's just not one I really want. So, that is included in that muck. The thing that's great about portal leads is, generally speaking, they have good data. It doesn't mean that if someone wants to buy, it doesn't mean you're going to convert them, but at least you have, when you call them, you're not getting that do. You're getting a real person at the other end of the line. So, yeah, people talk about these Facebook leads all the time. I hear these conversations. I hear it in lab codes. I hear it all over the place. Hey, I bought leads for $2.22. I'll be honest with you, I'm not super excited about a $2.22 lead, because
it's really 20
what you pay for it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And here's the other thing too. I mean, someone who's actually on Zillow, on Trulia, on Realtor, on independently on their own, like they went there because they have a reason to be there. So they're actually they're exchanging information, expecting to get a phone call. Whereas in Facebook, we're just people are they're bored out of their mind at work. They should be working, but no, they're on Facebook. They're like, wow, that house looks pretty cool. Let me see what it looks like.
Yep.
Right. It doesn't mean they're in the market, but you could see how that would take place.
Yeah, that's exactly the reality. I can actually show you statistics that I can run an ad from a house, and I can get more clicks than Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com. More people will click on my ad than will click on that same house on the portal sites. However, no one logged on to Facebook to look for a house.
That's right.
No, and nobody logged on to Zillow looking to do Facebook. I mean, just understand who your audience is. And, it doesn't mean it doesn't have a value, because it does have a value. But, when you understand that a portal lead is potentially a right now lead, a curator lead, any of these other all-inclusive platforms like Commissions Inc. or Ylopo, those people are 6 months out a lot of times. Sometimes they're 12 months out. Sometimes they're 18 months out. Doesn't mean they're bad leads. They're just not right now leads. And the reason the conversion is so poor on them is because the follow-up is so poor.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it makes perfect sense. I mean, I just did a cross-country move myself, and I could tell you that in March, I moved in August. March, I was on Zillow every day. I'm an agent.
Right.
We have 700 agents we work with in Big Block, and I could ask any of them about the information. But as a consumer, as an agent, and I know how it works, I know what's there today isn't going to be there tomorrow, and I know it's not going to be there in 6 months, but yet I'm still, on Zillow creeping out. Right, yep. It's crazy when you actually just, again, put yourself in the consumer's shoes. All right, let's go into Commissions Inc., and then I definitely want to talk about Ylopo, because I've heard such great things about it. But Commissions Inc. So you mentioned you did drop them. They're a pay-per-click, more or less. Is that correct?
Pay-per-click and Facebook.
Pay-per-click and Facebook, and they actually place the ads for you, right?
Yes.
And you pay for someone to do the work for you, plus the ad spend. Plus the monthly.
You buy a platform for X number of dollars a month, and then you set your own ad spend.
And you've had that for a while. I'd like to say last time that we were together, maybe, it might have even been last year at that, or the mastermind we were in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I remember you had Commissions Inc., if I'm not mistaken. And why did you turn it off, and what's going on?
So one of the things Commissions Inc. is going to be very in quality from region to region, because the number of people who have a platform in your market is going to determine the quality of the leads you get, in part. Because what Commissions Inc. doesn't do, and I don't know, Ylopo claims that they do this, and I'm sure they do. I'm not sure how, but if you've got a platform and I've got a platform and we're in the same area, they go to your platform today and fill out a form, and then 2 months later they come back and they fill out a form on my platform. We both have those people as leads. No one filters them out. So the more people in your market, literally you can sell the same lead 4, 5, 6, 10 times theoreticly.
So it's the same search terms.
Yeah,
that's what's
because ultimately you're doing a Google search and you're saying, I live in Bentonville, Arkansas. Homes for sale in Bentonville, Arkansas. Click on that. Oh, look, it's a paid ad. I click on it. Drives me to your site this week. Next week, it drives you to my site, sure. Whatever the case may be. So the quality of the leads wasn't the best. And where I'm at with my team at this point in time, lead quality has become more important to me than other things. And also, we're looking to go a little bit more all in with things. So I didn't need another CRM. So Sync is an all-inclusive platform. Sync, Boomtown, there's a million. There's like 6 or 7 of them now. They're all-inclusive. So they are your front-end facing site. They're also your back-end where all your leads go. Well, I use Follow Up Boss for that, so I didn't need Sync for that. And
Got it.
At the end of the day, what we found out is that it was better for me to spend more on a lead and have to not follow up with that lead as many times than again, commissions linked leads are really cheap. So, if you're a grinder, if you have nothing but time, Commission Sync's a great platform for you. If you're willing to do the follow-up, and here's the thing, the back end of it is amazing. It has, text drips. It has, the ability, I can go and we would do this, and this is one thing I'll miss, is I can actually go back into my Commissions Inc. platform, find 100 people, and send them this text. Hey, I'm just wondering if you want to go see some houses this weekend. If you do that with the Commissions Inc. platform with 100 people, 1 or 2 of them will say yes. And you want to talk about a 30-second, lead generation thing, it gives you something to do this weekend. It's a pretty effective way to run business. So that's a pretty cool automation they have. But again, for us, we decided that it was better to spend our money elsewhere on it. So.
And then let's go into why Lopo. Is it Lopo or why Lopo? Just like say
it's Y Lopo.
Okay,
so Howard Taggart's the owner of Y Lopo. I asked him one day, what the hell is a Y Lopo?
Yeah.
So it's Monopoly spelled backwards, but he stopped at the O.
Ah, got it. I see that now because I wrote it down.
What that is. So Y Lopo is basically a platform. Howard did a company called Tiger Leads, which actually got bought out by Commissions Inc. actually a couple years ago. But nonetheless, he wanted to take all the things about that and make it better. I feel like he's done a really good job of that. So you buy a certain number of leads per month from them, and you get their platform, and they're always improving different things. So the quality of the lead is a lot better. So where a Commissions Inc. lead I might buy for $6 to $8, I'm buying my Y Lopo leads for about $25 a piece.
And you don't even care about the cost because of the quality, and that's what that if you guys are going to get something out of this podcast, it's that Brian's looking at this from quality of the lead and what actually closes at the end of the day, as opposed to being like, oh my God, I have to spend this much this month. It's not an expense; it's an investment, and that's the way he truly looks at it. And he has these figured out to like a science on his team, and it's taken some time for him to get to that level, but. If you're going to invest this type of money, and you're going to invest any money, even if it's $100 a month or $1,000, doesn't matter. You need to know these metrics because you cannot make smart business decisions not.
Absolutely. Yeah, because how do you decide where you're going to spend more money? Why did I drop Commissions Inc.? Well, because when I sit there and look at my profit and loss, the ROI on it wasn't what the other things were, and I had room to spend more money over here. Numbers are boring a lot of times, but numbers will tell you where you're succeeding and where you're failing. Not everything is as directly measurable as these platforms. Like, if you run a radio ad, it's a little bit harder to determine the ROI on that. But it's real easy to figure out if I bought 10 leads and I closed one of them, that's 10%, and I can multiply that and figure out what the commission on my average sales price is. You can figure that out in 5 minutes. Build a spreadsheet, it'll do all the math for you. So why would I do that? Well, so I don't want to. At the end of the day, I'm going to spend X number of dollars. If I can spend the same amount of money and make more money, well, why wouldn't I? Well, I can have more closings. There's so many good things.
That doesn't sound like a good idea.
No.
Now, I also, correct me if I'm wrong, Y Lopo is the follow-up is more personable in nature, if I'm not mistaken. Like, it feels more authentic and real on their sequencing and the follow-up. Yep. Is that right?
It is. It's very authentic. Commissions Inc. You can build out your own you can build out your own stuff. Boomtown, I'm pretty sure you can do the same thing. But Y Lopo does a couple of things. First of all, they allow you to do what's called intuitive texting. So let's say that I'm on your site for today, and then 2 months later I pop back. Well, I'm not sitting as an agent. I'm not sitting staring at my computer 24 hours a day to see who popped on my site. Yeah. So
you're an agent. You don't even know how to get in the back end of your site. Let's be honest.
Right. Well, it's just not another story. But so Y Lopo will actually send them a text. Hey, welcome back to our site. We hadn't seen you in a while. We'd love to send you some more houses like the one you just looked at.
Interesting.
So they reach out for you with a text while that person is on the site. And if you think about how important that is, when we talk about, I talk about we're a country of ADD. So for this 7 seconds, I'm doing real estate. But if I don't catch you in that 7 seconds, I'm off doing something else.
Right.
So if they actually, follow up for you when you don't even know it, it's pretty cool. So, and then they have certain things that are key indicators, like, okay, so we have what we call a BAM box, which is someone signed up for wanted to know about one of your offers. So they're like, hey, let's click on this. Or, somebody looked at a house 7 times. So you're going to get a notification, hey, this person looked at a house 7 times, or this person came back after 6 months.
So it's actually, it's marketing based upon website behavior.
Yes,
is exactly what it's doing, and that is different. Okay, that's different. That's like some high tech stuff going on there, because you're mirroring the consumer's habits right there and speaking to their needs at that current moment, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And let's face
powerful.
it, like I said, 10 minutes later, their needs are something else. But if you can catch them right, you're catching them at the hot spot, and that makes your job easier.
You're exactly right. It's like, sometimes I get a lot of telemarketer calls, right? And if I'm just not in the mood, I'm like, fuck off. I'm hanging up the phone, right? But if I'm, sometimes if it's like Friday, like say like right when I get done with this call, you know where I'm going? I'm going to go get a 6-pack and I'm done. I'm done for the week. I'm going to chill. And if someone calls me at that time, I'm more likely to, entertain it than I am on say Monday at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock. And you don't know, to be honest with you. You just don't know what's going to happen. And you never know what type or what stage you're going to catch someone in. That's so true. I see a theme here, all right? I see a theme, and we look through the Porto leads, the Zillow, Trulia, Realtor, Curator, Commissions Inc., YLOPO. Every single one of these, and tell me if you agree or disagree with this, but every single one of these, the key was in the personalization and the quickness of the follow-up.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you can do that, there's a bunch of other stuff you can do to be successful, but you're still ahead of 95% of the people in the country if you become personal and you follow up quickly.
So how many, on a monthly basis, your team, just in Arkansas, how many leads are you coming in?
We have about 1,000 a month coming in right now, and some of those are junk. Sometimes they're address only or email only leads, sure. But yeah, right around 1,000 a month.
Man, that's a machine. And it only takes a couple. We really work in a high ticket dollar item. I know you guys convert a lot more than a couple, but it's the same thing. Like Brian, I could go probably your team. Obviously, you know what you're doing. You probably, I'm sure you run your team very, very tight in terms of the follow up. Someone has to, bark those orders. Someone's got to lead the way there. But you could easily probably go into, actually put it in my old team. We would not do the same results as you would in the same market in the same place because we don't have the same systems. Sure. It's the follow-up. It's not about Zillow's not going to make you rich. Curator's not going to make you rich. These are platforms that allow you to create more conversations to have. Ultimately, it's going to be, what do you do when that opportunity arises?
Yeah, here's my quote, and I don't know if I made this up or heard it from somewhere and stole it, but in 2017, if you want to be successful, use technology to augment relationships, not in place of relationships. And that's what I feel like most people are doing wrong. My computer sent them a text message. I did a good job. No, you sucked.
Yeah.
You need, the purpose of sending that text message is to get them on the phone. And I'm a huge text message fan, don't get me wrong, but I feel like you that I cannot convert somebody with a text message. I can't hear their tone. I can't hear their inflection. They can't hear me. They can't know that I'm not some crazy person. I can't mirror and match them in any way. All those things that you can do on the phone, you cannot do in a text message. There's no emotion in a text message.
You're exactly right. So, everything that we do on a daily basis, it's simple as this, folks. Marketing creates engagement. Engagement creates conversation. Conversation creates trust and authority. Trust and authority creates getting paid, period. You have to follow the process. Doesn't matter what platform you're working on. The sales process is really the same. Even if it's belly to belly, face to face, you go through those same emotions. Brian, this has been a great podcast. Our listeners are going to absolutely love this. You guys are doing a great event coming up in November 9th or November 6th. Please go ahead and share that with our audience. When that date is.
I'd love to meet any of you guys who want to do that. We will be in Anaheim, California, in November, the first week of November there. And I should know the dates off the top of my head. I don't know them off the top of my head. Give me 1 second. I'll figure that out.
I probably should too, because I'm speaking there, but I totally forgot. But I think it's November 6th through 9th. 7th. November 7th through the 9th. I believe you can go to the website. It's clubwealth/BSM.
Exactly. So, I'd love the opportunity. If you want to meet Mike in person, he's a lot of fun. He'll buy you a beer, I promise. So, it's a great event. There's going to be a lot of great speakers from all over the country there, and just a phenomenal opportunity to learn. And probably the other thing that I like about our event and I've been to a lot of real estate events, is we have a mastermind component. What I mean by that is you're going to get in a room with 25 other people. There's going to be about 300 to 400 people at this event, but we're going to put you in a room with 25 other people who are similar to you, having the same problems you are, having the same successes you are, and you get to brainstorm with those people, and that is one of the most powerful ways to create your own success. So that's where I met Mike at a mastermind, and that's
Atlanta a couple years ago.
That was awesome.
Yep.
So.
And they match you up for production and all that stuff. It's very, very cool. But you guys check that out. Just go to www.clubwealth.com/BSM. And if you just go to the Club Wealth website, you'll find it there. It's on the front page, if I'm not mistaken. But, dude, this has been awesome. I really, really appreciate it. I respect and love everything you're doing down there in Arkansas. And you guys are kicking butt. I mean, good job. Congratulations. Anything else you want to add for closing thoughts here? And we'll get this thing wrapped up.
I just appreciate it. If you want to learn something, just here's my closing thought. We covered about 15 different things today. And when you go to an event, when you listen to a podcast, whatever you do, pick one thing and get good at it, and then just work on that one thing. Everyone tries to, fix 17 things at once and then fixes nothing. So pick something, do it well, and then work on something else. Appreciate you having me, Mike.
Yes, thank you, sir. And everybody, thank you for listening. If you have any additional questions, you know where to find us. It's very, very simple, realestatemarketingdude.com. As you know, we don't sell our content, we give it away. Each and every month, we take our agents through a 4-week onboarding training process, teaching you the business model I created called the Attract and Retain Formula. The training's there. It's free. Take it right now. We don't care. We give it away. And yes, you could have all of our courses involved with that. It's over $2,000 of training for free. Go to my site. You'll figure it out from there. realestatemarketingdude.com. Thank you, Brian, for your time. I appreciate everyone here for listening, and we'll be back next week with another episode. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.